have come quite a long ways across the pond, as we say, to come to Chicago, well, just outside of Chicago, to MAZAK Optics for quite an incredible unveiling of a specific machine and an open house, which is going to be incredible. Starting Tuesday, which is, I have to look at this because my schedule is always jumping all over the place, right? So I have to look at this. April 26th through 28th, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you get to join me as we tour this facility, meet all sorts of amazing customers, and kind of enjoy the MAZAK product, right?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, this is a fabulous facility, isn't it, here? The size of it, everything just seems to be bigger here in the States, other than you, of course. And we've had a great couple of days so far. We went to watch the, was it the Red Sox, or was that what you were wearing on your feet?
Oh, the Boston guys and the Chicago guys are going to be mad, actually. It was the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs.
And the camera operator, or one of them, David, who's traveled with us, actually got the match ball as well, one of the match balls.
He did beat up a little kid to get it, but he did get one of the foul balls, yes.
He did. But I'm really looking forward to this event, which obviously starts tomorrow, because this is now Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon, starting at 9 a.m., the unveiling of a new Neo machine, which I know they're very proud to showcase. But we wanted to do a little bit of a live presentation today to walk you guys through the showroom to say, here's what's coming. It's not too late to sign up. Start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Come swing by just outside of Chicago. MAZAK Optics, not to be confused with the other location in MAZAK just outside of Chicago. So MAZAK Optics. And just for fun, let's pull out this card again so we can get the right address. We're looking at 2725 Galvin Court, just outside of Chicago, not to be confused with the other location. So, Paul, I know you've gathered a lot of...
That means nothing to me, location.
But it will for the audience. Yeah. But I know you want to showcase some of the stuff and talk about some of the stuff that will be running tomorrow. Not right now, because we don't want to give everything away. We want them to show up, right?
Absolutely. And as a corporation, I mean, this company of business has been producing machine tools for over a century. And they have around about 50 laser cutting solutions in the portfolio, of which we're going to see the latest that's being offered here now on this tour. And like you say, get yourself here tomorrow or the next day or the day after to actually witness them in action. So where are we starting, Tony?
That's exactly right. We're going to start with this MAZAK over here, which is a two-dimensional laser cutting machine. I know you've done a lot of studying, so we can learn a little bit more about it. We got parts sitting over here, which are really fun to look at. We're talking about the extra kilowatts on this machine that allow people to machine faster, thicker, and harder materials, right? But that's kind of the beginning of what this is in depth.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a machine like this, it's all about the power. It's about what materials you can cut, the depth of materials that you can cut, and the speed that you can cut them. And that's really when you look at this particular model here. So this is the Optiplex 3015 Fiber 3, but this is 10 kilowatts of power. Now this power rating was introduced around about 3 to 4 years ago, and what we see later in this tour is now a machine that's up to 15 kilowatts. So, you know, things evolve very quickly. But if we take a look into the machine, and as we've said, you can come here tomorrow to see this actually cutting in action. The 3015 actually stands for 3 meters in the long x-axis, and then you've got 1.5 meters across the gantry. Now the machines go much bigger than this, but that's really what the actual numbers here denote. Fiber laser is moving on so quickly these days, and trying to create that edge quality similar to CO2 is really where MAZAK's technology is going. And we're going to be talking about beam shaping, and that's what you can see here as well, because the ultimate with these machines is you want to cut this type of material or even thicker as quickly and as fast as you can and as efficiently as you can. Also, to point out a few other bits about the machines here, you've got like a nozzle carousel, so you can change the nozzles depending on really the materials that you're cutting. It's a bit like an art form. In fact, I was told by one of the guys here, I would have thought that some of this could all been done in the software, depending on the materials and what you want to cut. But actually, the combination of changing the nozzles and what you can do with the MAZAK technology is how you get the best cut quality across different materials.
Yeah, all true. And talking with the guys here at MAZAK who have decades of wisdom, right? I mean, we're talking a long-term relationship here in the U.S. We learned that 32 millimeters in harder steel,
yeah, well, let's take a look.
And still being able to cut pretty quickly.
And this is the focus really. This is 32 mil. Mm-hmm. Now you look at the edge quality. This is where the beam shaping and the technology that they're offering is bringing, thicknesses like this to the same quality and sometimes surpassing that of a CO2 machine. Now, of course, with the fibre technology, one of the big aspects as well is the cost of ownership, the cost of running. These machines can be, 30% more efficient in what they cost because you've not got the same moving parts, the same wear parts. So really, to transition to fibre technology across different materials is what they're kind of preaching or talking about here.
Yeah, Paul, and you mentioned that 30%. That 30% is a pretty significant number in the sense of when I'm a company trying to produce more quickly, more for my end user as well, I invest in that 10 kilowatt machine because that 30% is going to make all the difference to those lead times to whoever else might be cutting with lasers as well.
Absolutely. It means you can be more competitive, which is what every company wants, whether it's here in the US or the UK or Europe or India or wherever you are. This is now then obviously going to be in action here tomorrow as well, but this is where we're taking or bringing automation into it. And I mean, these machines are fairly automated anyway when you look at the kind of pallet systems and how many parts you can get on the machine. By actually adding, you're going to press the button there if it will open, but adding this automation means you can keep the machine running unmanned. Now this system's like a stack and sort. Now what it'll do is you have to predetermine where the parts are, but then it will stack them on the pallets, and of course you can come in with a fork truck and take them out. So if you want to go from being 30% more economical or efficient on the machine to then running it unmanned, you can of course get many major benefits.
And automation is a term we're listening to a lot these days, and on MTD platform we're promoting it as well because it really is that gap that needs to be filled, whether it's the labor gap of qualified candidates to work in manufacturing or just being able to produce more for third shifts or weekends because maybe we want to go to our families during the night, right?
Well, you don't, do you?
Yeah.
Well, you never get a chance to.
We never get a chance. But
we've automated you, so there you go.
And cloning, I think, is coming soon as well,
is,
right?
Yeah.
But automation is a key component to so many different aspects of life, whether it's making more money for the customer, doing more work throughout the night. We have a great customer, a great friend on the other side of the country that quite literally removed themselves from a third shift, producing more parts, letting their third shift work second shift and go home to their family at night because this is automation, the direction we're going. Now we're looking at a 3 kilowatt machine, FT150 fiber. What do we have here?
So this is now tube cutting. Fascinating. Speed of these machines, I know you reviewed it at a recent show here in the States, but this is about, what these machines are capable of now isn't just cutting tubes. You can do threading, you can do all kinds of things. They've even got an additional axis in the head here, which will tip to plus or minus 45 degrees, I believe. So for edge preparation of welded parts, these machines are just, they really are the latest when it comes to tube cutting. Now they have an axis stroke on the head of 3 inches. One of my questions was, do you move the head to the part when you're cutting, or do you move the part and keep the head fixed? This particular machine, you can do both. So there's a 3 inches of travel on the head. So if your component or where you want to cut or whatever you're trying to do is less than 3 inches, you can do it all by keeping the part or the tube fixed and use the head to cut. Now if it's bigger or longer than that, you can also then of course feed it. So loads of niceties about this machine which are quite fascinating. Once again, you can see this in action tomorrow.
Well, Paul, you got my curiosity as we walk over to the next machine as well, which you may know the answer to, you may not, but it's immediately struck my curiosity when you mentioned the 3 inches being able to be moved by both the part and the head. Does that total 6 inches, or is it 1.5, or how's that? Do you know how that works?
I'm not 100% sure, if I'm honest with you.
I'm intrigued by that, though, honestly, right?
Yeah, I think what I was interested about that aspect was the fact that we look at it on other types of machine tools, milling, turning. We always talk about, do you move the part to the spindle or do you move the spindle to the part? What's the best way to do it? Now, of course, if you're moving mass, you're going to increase the possibility of wear on machines. So ideally, you want to not move mass, you want to just move to the part, and that's really where that came from. This is an interesting machine because this is the Optiplex Nexus 3015 fiber. Now you'll notice one of the significant differences here is the loading. So this is a side load machine as opposed to the front load. And what I also want to point out here is we can see here, this mechanism here, this is a helical rack and pinion, and basically what this means is that you can, this is how the axes travel up and down on the machine, or the x-axis backwards and forwards. And because it's kind of a slant at a degree, it means you get 3 points of contact as it's moving, which means it's far more rigid, and it's very agile moving backwards and forwards, because these travel at kind of, the acceleration is G's, but this is a more reliable method than some would say than ball screws and things like that. All part of what MAZAK put into the build quality of the machine. This machine is also almost like an entry level into this technology. Slightly less power you can have on this machine. I think it comes with 3, 4, 5, 6 kilowatts. So you can't go up to the 10 kilowatt on this, but if you're looking at economy, if you're first into this type of machine tool or this area of industry, then this is a really good option to go for. And I know you probably want to get a few words in. I'm chomping away
here. I do,
here,
but you're doing so good that I'm just going to stay silent and keep you talking.
This pallet system here is a dual pallet system. So again, this is an option you can integrate to any of their machines. But you see you've got one pallet where the camera's looking at there, but then you've also got a further one down here. So again, this is, I suppose it's automation similar to what we saw up there, but just a different style depending on what you're making. And if you want to keep these machines running, this is really, how you do it.
Well, in my working world and previous, history of working, I've run machines similar to this, but in woodworking. So I'm quite familiar with the automation style of nesting a bunch of parts and being able to work on either multiple components of the same piece or a whole bunch of different components in the one nesting piece of material, whether it's steel or aluminum in this case, or woodworking. So the concept is there. It's the tube bending technology and the lasers that go along with what MAZAK is doing here at the Optics Corp. Absolutely fascinating to me is what they're creating.
100%. I mean, I didn't realise you were a carpenter, but we
a
learned
bad
something
one.
there.
A bad one.
This just shows you here. It's a good illustration as well of the different kilowatts and what you can achieve in a cutting time. So this is actually, illustrating how the different powers of machines perform. Again, all things that you can come and talk to their applications guys here about.
But looking at this, Paul, when we're looking at everything here, we're maxed out at the 10 kilowatt. However, we're about to look at a machine that's added another 5 kilowatt to that, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's just enhancements to manufacturing that are happening all the time. Technology is getting better, stronger, more powerful, more flexible, which we see here as well. I mean, this is a tube cutting machine. This machine will go up to this. I think this is 15 meters you can go up to in length. Feeding 15 meters and of course ejecting 15 meters. Now when you, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, what's the difference between this machine and the one we saw up there? Well, it was really well described by one of the gentlemen here that that's the sports car and this is the truck. So if your parts are bigger, they're heavier, they need more work on them, they're longer, they're thicker, all of that is where this machine fits. Now, what you don't get with this technology is the head doesn't move that 3-inch. All the movement here is done by feeding the bar to the head. But again, just I suppose, a way of best describing what you can have and what the differences between what MAZAK can offer you when we talk about a sports car and a truck.
Well, Paul,
which do you prefer to drive?
Of course. So something you might not know about me is for a piece of my career as well, we used to machine out the holes on giant tubes for radiator coils, whether it be for refrigerators or nuclear plants or whatever it might be in that case, right? But it used to take me hours to get through a tube about 8 inches in diameter and just putting a drill through it and then milling the outside, the inside to get the right diameter. If I had one of these MAZAK machines, those hours would have turned into seconds or minutes. I mean, incredible technology they have here.
Yeah, I mean, there's other considerations as well, which kind of struck me was about if you are going through a tube, what happens if the laser beam or the cut goes through to the underneath of it? Because obviously you've got a full diameter, you've got a top and a bottom. How do you avoid that? And that's all done in the software and the cleverness of what MAZAK can offer, and of course the operator as well. But you're right, what you said earlier, this is one of the highlights really of the show in the coming days. This is the 3015 Neo. Now this machine is where you've got a real slick looking interface control system here, touch screen. I mean, how good is this? I see you working on your iPad, Tony, but I could also see you working on this.
The size of the screen itself allows you to really see what's being created in these nesting parts as well. You can see, okay, this is what I'm working on, and over here is exactly what's happening. The color coordination, the touch screen, as you mentioned, the size of the screen, it really is an advancement in the technology to go along with the fact that this is 15 kilowatt and plowing through some material.
Yeah, so you could be able to get up to 50 mil, they're saying here.
50
millimeters in harder steels and materials. Now, This is taking applications from other areas of metal cutting now and bringing them onto this machine. So it's opening up new markets. Now there's something called beam shaping, which is new, revolutionary, and can be first seen here this week. And that's where you actually shape the beam automatically. So you're opening up the size of the beam. And again, it's sometimes you look for analogies to describe this, but if you imagine you've got a laser that you point at a wall and there's a little red dot, it's kind of opening that up or closing that so you can actually alter it in order to cope with the materials that you're cutting. Very, very clever. The real aim for that is to bring these machines to provide, as we said at the start, similar quality, if not better, to that of CO2 on harder materials and thicknesses of materials. So, a real leap really from MAZAK here as to what you can achieve with laser cutting technology.
And Paul, you kind of touched on it, but the unveiling of this machine outside of the US was only just a couple of weeks ago, and now we're talking about doing it here in the US tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. The unveiling of this machine, it's going to be an exceptional event.
Absolutely, can't wait. We'll be here all day tomorrow as well.
Yes, we will. I look forward to seeing everyone join MTD. If you want to hop on camera, be one of our victims on camera,
We'll be here to get
absolutely.
you.
Hop on board. We'd love to see you. MAZAK Optics here outside of Chicago. Paul, you're amazing. Thank you for the education. Thank you for the tour. Guys, thank you all for watching. You're amazing as well.